Hello, my name is Justin Viller with the Committee of 70. We're excited to be back for another edition of our Studio C70 Student Candidate Interview Series. Today, we're very excited to be joined by Commissioner Leon King, who is running in the Democratic slate for Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas judge. And so he's going to be interviewed today by Mr. Tom Quinn in his 12th grade social sciences class at Central High School. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Quinn. Commissioner King, thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Commissioner King, and thank you so much for joining our class this morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah, so we've done a little bit of studying about the Court of Common Pleas. Students know that it's the trial court of original jurisdiction for civil and criminal cases in the city of Philadelphia. And you're one of 10 candidates running for 9 vacant seats, right?
Yes.
Yes. So if you want to take a little moment to introduce yourself, and then while you're introducing yourself, I'm going to have some students sit up here and ask you some questions. Okay.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Leon, and I'm running for the court, one, because of my qualifications, legal, experiential qualifications. Two, I'm someone who's experienced empathy and mercy and who's had a second chance. I want to be a problem solver on the list. I think I'm in special need on the court. So I have been practicing law for 34 years. I just realized that recently. It's a very long time. I started off as an assistant city solicitor working for Mayor Good. I was promoted to a deputy city solicitor for civil rights under Mayor Rendell, uh, a deputy city solicitor for employment, and I was also appointed general counsel at the prison system here, which gave me a lot of transactional experience. And at age 39, I was promoted to commissioner. I was the youngest prison commissioner in the history of the city. I was only 11 years out of law school, and it was a testament to my legal skill. I also became chairman of the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee, which tries to solve problems in the criminal justice system. And I went on to finish my term at the prisons. I was in private practice for 8 years doing civil rights and various other things. I had the opportunity and the calling to go to Baltimore, where I was deputy commissioner, ran those jails down there. And most recently, after my another 8 years of private practice, I was a special assistant attorney general to the attorney general of Massachusetts and a special counsel for civil rights to the sheriff of Bristol County, Massachusetts. So I've done all those things. I tell people I'm somebody who's had a second chance. I've experienced mercy and empathy, which I believe is relevant for the court. You know, I've represented and been in law enforcement. I know people who were bad who need to be locked up. But for me, I was like you guys. I was a senior in college. I went to college, and I decided that I would go out on a crime spree with my roommate. So we went out and we stole some things. We got arrested. I was on the 8th floor of the San Diego County Jail, scared to death. I wasn't a very good inmate. My mother came from Massachusetts to bail me out. I was humiliated. She saw her son, who was to be a lawyer, locked up. I mean, handcuffed in court. And I had a judge who didn't listen to the DA, who wanted to put me in prison for a couple of years. He gave me probation, and when I ended that probation, my conviction would be overturned. So I did that, and I've almost been explaining that ever since. When I applied for my 2 bars, working in Baltimore, etc. But 20 years to the day that I was on the 8th floor of the San Diego County Jail, I became commissioner of the Philadelphia prison system. So I tell that story not because I'm proud of what I did, but it shows how having a discerning judge, right, making the right decision can make a good thing come out of a bad thing. So I became the commissioner. I used that view to shape everything I did to help inmates, to help staff. I became a problem solver, which is what I want to do in the court. We had mentally ill people who were locked up. I think you should know that. 1,200 out of 8,000. I didn't just sit around and go, oh, there's all these mentally ill people. I went down, I had a conversation with the judges. Me and 3 other people came up with, which was with the pilot program, the beginning of mental health court. So if you go downtown in both mental common pleas in municipal court, there's people who are going through this mental health court process. And the idea is you shouldn't be locked up if what you did was a symptom of your disease, right? You should be treated as long as you don't help, as long as you don't hurt anybody. So that's one of the things I've done, and I'm going to continue to address big problems like that when I'm on the court. And finally, I'm a civil rights attorney. That's what I did for 12 years. I didn't just handle cases, that's what I did. So I know the Constitution. I know what it means. I've taught it. I was a professor at Drexel for 10 years. So I know what the due process clause means, that you're not to be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process. And that applies to everybody. Doesn't matter where you come from, what your political thoughts are, what your name is, it's all equal. So I'll be one of those people on the court who will interpret and apply the Constitution. And then finally, I come from a family of immigrants. I tell people my family fled Bermuda, and everyone always laughs because who flees from Bermuda? It's a paradise. But we came here in 1964. And my parents were undocumented for a minute, and we had to, fight our way up from the bottom, working very hard. My younger brother is a retired major and veteran and war hero from Afghanistan and Iraq. And my other brother is a councilman up in Massachusetts who's fighting for the right things all the time, and was recently the recipient of a bomb threat. So, because he stands up to the police and stuff like that. So he's got a cruiser surrounding his house. So those are all the reasons I'm running. Those are my viewpoint, and I'm happy to take your questions. And before you do that, I want to tell you the class you're in, that was my favorite class in high school. I think it's essentially important because some people think, why is such a class? Well, when you get to be an adult, if you want to be an informed voter, baseline, this is the class you need. All right, I've talked enough. Do you have any questions?
Um, Hi, yes, thank you for describing your story to us. I have a question about the community work you've done, and since you've been so involved with different people within your community, how do you continue to keep that going once you're elected and listen to the people's voices in office?
Well, one I have a nonprofit called Q7 where I try to help young gay kids who are having trouble with reconciling their sexuality with their faith. I will continue to do that. I have part of that called Q7 Rescue, where I help young people who need to pay their rent, who are trying to flee their parents. So I'm going to continue to do that. I have several ex offenders and inmates who are incarcerated that I intend to continue. I correspond. I make sure they get, they're not being mistreated. Sometimes I send them money. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that or if they'll allow me as a judge to do it, but I want to continue to do that. And I have some other groups where I'm just always involved on a personal level, helping people. I tell people that I don't volunteer for an organization. I am the organization. So people know they call me, I'm homeless. I'm like, oh, geez, we got to find you a place. That's recently happened. Or I have a young man who's up in New York. He moved there to be homeless, and I've been counseling him, sending him bus fare. I sent him fingerprint fare the other day. So I'm just engaged, and if somebody calls me, I'm going to do that. And I hope to, go around to high schools and other places to talk about criminal justice and lend my experience to that where I'm able. So you will not see me shrink into the courtroom and hide under my desk or tell people I can't talk because I'm such a highfalutin judge that I can't give my opinion. I'll have to tailor my opinion, but I'll be out there, I guarantee you.
Thank you.
I also had a question. I wanted to ask, what pro bono work have you done? Like just in general.
I'm constantly doing pro bono work. I mentioned to you the inmates that I have. I have Titus, who's in Terre Haute, Indiana. I have Chris, who's in FCI Sheridan. I have Jose, he's in Frackville prison here. and I have 2 new people that came in this week. Those are just 5 people. And I don't represent them necessarily in ongoing litigation. I represent them. One has been stuck in the segregation too long and wants to be transferred. Somebody else they're not giving them the medication, or they're putting hair in their food, or they may be getting discharged and they may have gotten arrested and need someone to put their money, while they're being arrested, or they just have questions. So again, I've been doing that, I don't know, for 10 years. And people call me all the time, and I either give them a very reduced rate or I represent them for free. I'm right now, I'm doing a big contract case for an individual that I'm representing pro bono. And I'm always, 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 people call me, I'm like, I work for the city so long, I feel guilty. I shouldn't. I feel guilty charging people. It's crazy when you're in private. But I try to result. You call me, I try to give you free advice. I'm doing that all the time. So my husband doesn't like that. He thinks I'm nuts. But that's what you're supposed to do.
So kind of like a follow-up to everything that you've said in this Zoom. What is the most important value for a judge? Like, if you had to pick one that kind of sums up everything that you've
I mean,
discussed, important value.
there are a lot of important ones, but I would say the most important is that you develop a demeanor that when people come to your courtroom, one, you have no preconceived notions about who's who and who's what, and that you make everybody feel like you know what you're doing, but you make them feel like they've had their say, that you've listened, that you give them the opportunity to say whatever it is they need to say, and that they have been treated fairly. I think that's the most important thing. Never assume things. You come in, I don't care who you. I have a story. There was a transgender woman who I dealt with up at the prison, and she was a prostitute in and out of prison. Finally, the judge said, you're in and out. We got to send you away. So it's time for sentencing. And he said to her, he said, Ms. Adams. And that was the first time anybody in an official role had addressed her as Miss Adams, as opposed to whatever her dead name was. And that changed her life. Do you understand what I'm saying? That changed her life. She went on to go to the state prison. She got her GED. She came back out. She was helping other transgender people. And so that's the type of thing that you don't think about, that you respect everybody. You call them the way they wish to be addressed. You're kind, even though sometimes you might have to do some heavy sentences, but you always make people feel like, not only feel like, you give people their say so that they feel like they've gotten a fair shake. That's the most important thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I had another question. What would you say is the proudest moment of your career?
Proudest moment. Oh, there are several. But the most dramatic one, when I went down to Philadelphia to be the deputy commissioner, they had all these inmates, about 600 inmates, in an old factory. It wasn't a jail, it was an old factory they put cells in, and there was no air conditioning. So it was like 120 degrees in this building. And I come down to Baltimore. I don't know who anybody is. It's the first day of my tenure there. I'm sitting in the room with all the big bosses, and they speak about air conditioning for this building. And the person who's in charge of maintenance for all the prisons and jails in Baltimore says, we don't give inmates air conditioning in Maryland. Can't believe that he said that. We don't give inmates air conditioning. So I looked to my boss to the left and I said, do you want me to say something, or do you want to say something? He said, you say something. So I raised my hand and I said, that's the most immoral, unconstitutional, ridiculous statement I have ever heard in my entire life. So the big boss ordered that air conditioning be put in that building, and we eventually got air conditioning. So that's like a proud moment. Not, I've done other things, but that's like a dramatic moment. And then what you have to understand as you grow up and you try to do good things, The maintenance guy who was overruled because of what I said in that meeting, he tried to ruin everything that I ever did. We created mental health court. That's a proud moment. We did a lot of things for people who have HIV and AIDS at the prison. We provided that they have discharge medication, because if you're poor, you go to prison, you don't have the you don't have money, you stay in the prison. When you're discharged, they've taken you off your benefits, so they just would throw you in the street and you'd have no benefits, no medication, no one would care. So what I did when I was general counsel and continued it when I was prison commissioner was to provide discharge medication, 30-day supply for HIV AIDS people. We expanded it to everybody, and then we started the clock to turn on their benefits before they left. Do you understand what I'm saying? So even people who are mentally ill were getting discharged onto the street with no medication. So that's another proud thing. So I'm sorry, you asked me one, I gave you three.
No, that's
Forgive
perfect.
me.
Thank you so much. I have one more question. What would you say is the biggest challenge facing the Philadelphia court system?
Well, right now, one of the biggest is that they're down 7 judges. All the judges who are running, there are 7 vacancies on the court for 18 months. That's the biggest challenge, I think, at the moment, the most immediate challenge. But I think that the court does a lot of things good, but I think that we need to have some more innovation there, some more big planning. I have a friend who's a judge, Stephanie Sawyer. She has a program called the Sentencing Foundation, or a nonprofit, and it's called resource-based sentencing. So it's like it used to be: you would sentence 30 years in 30 months in jail, and then the judge would say, get your GED and get off drugs and stop drinking. And now we have a program where it is, okay, part of your sentence is 14 to 23 months. You got to get your JD, you got to get your drug and alcohol under control. And we provide you with the people who are going to help you that. And when we have we have hearings to see how you're doing. And when you say, I haven't finished my GED, well, the GED provider's right there. We go, well, what's up? Why haven't you helped him finish his GED? Do you understand? So that you're really helping the person. You're punishing them, but you're helping them get their act together so that they'll go back to prison. And people think that's being soft on crime or ignoring victims' rights. No, it isn't. Because if you're a drug addict and you're a mentally ill person and you're assaulting people on SEPTA, right? And you go and get punished, well, if we provide you some services so you don't do that again, that's a big victim's right thing, because there's no new victim. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's no new victim if you address their needs. So did that
Thank
answer the question?
Oh, it did. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Any lightning
All
round?
right.
Oh, favorite song?
Ooh, my favorite song. How Great Thou Art. Have you ever heard that song? It's a song about God.
Oh,
It's an old song, so maybe you haven't heard about it. It goes, "Oh Lord, my God." Have you heard that? No.
I think I
Okay.
have. Yeah, no, that's lovely.
Yeah, that's my favorite song.
Do you have a favorite restaurant?
Favorite restaurant? McMenamin's. That's here in Mount Airy. It's like a restaurant pub. I like going there.
Okay, this might be the most important question that we're gonna ask today. Cats or dogs?
Dogs. I have a Rhodesian Ridgeback named Zula. We used to have dogs, but I mean cats. Now we have dogs. So I don't know what to tell you.
I've never heard of that breed.
It's a African breed. Zimbabwe used to be a country. No, Rhodesia used to be a country in Africa, now called Zimbabwe, and they were bred by the settlers and the native people to hunt lions. So it's a lion hunter I have in my house. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
That's
you for all
cool.
your
Thank you.
and your time
Thank you for
today.
your time.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Good luck. Keep
Thank
up
you
the
very
good
much,
work, young
Commissioner King.
people.
And thank
When
you
I
so much.
retire, I'm handing the world over to you. You better be prepared.
All right, we appreciate you, Commissioner King. Is there any last Any wrap up you want to say before the bell rings here?
No, but I need everybody to get out and vote. So if you guys are old enough to vote, I appreciate you voting for me. Tell your friends about me who can vote. Tell your parents about me who you can vote. Because as I tell people, if I win the primary on Wednesday, I think I might run to the courthouse on Tuesday. I may run to the courthouse on Wednesday and say, okay, I'm ready to work for free. I'm ready to go.
There you go. That's
Thank you.
wonderful. Thank you very much, Mr. Quinn, your students. Great job. Thank you very much, Commissioner King. Really appreciate it. Good luck on Tuesday. Those watching, election date next Tuesday, May 20th. See you at the polls.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.